Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. This is Julie Bruns, and you are about to be inspired. I am so excited to share my conversations with amazing people from all walks of life who figured out how to be happy, peaceful, and content doing work they love and making the world a better place so that you can see what's possible for your life. I can't wait to hear what you think. Send me an email and let me know one thing you're taking away from this episode. And never forget, anything really is possible. So welcome to this episode, everyone. My guest this week is Beth Thomas Cohen. And Beth and I, first time we're chatting. Beth, I read your book, Drop the Act. It's exhausting. First of all, the title I love, and I think that's probably why I picked it up. But I know that I heard about it from someone's podcast or interview or something. I don't know if you were on it or someone was just recommending the book, but I definitely was recommended to me. And I feel like it was maybe 2016, 17 or something.
Yep.
It was a while ago. When did the book come out?
It's 2016.
Okay, so I think right after. So
yeah. I know everybody's like, where's the next one? I'm like, well, my life took a little bit of a turn.
So I'm excited to talk to you. And I love your style of writing. And I don't think writing's your background, right? Like
No, it really isn't.
That's what I thought, which is always more impressive to me because now that I have written a book, I know what goes into it. Yeah. I love reading, but I really now I love writing. But I didn't realize. Really good writers are. It's just a pleasure to read books that are well written and still funny, and you want to keep reading. Yeah. And yours is definitely one of those, and you just want to keep turning the page and reading. So you did a great job on it. Yeah. So it's even more impressive when you find out that people really aren't writers. They had a story.
I do have a background in media. I was a fashion editor, but that required very little writing and a lot more styling.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. Okay.
Theoretically a writer now.
Yeah. So welcome. I'm excited to talk to you and hear about your journey.
Thank you.
Yeah. So so you have a very unique background. So tell everyone, what you're doing now and however much you want to tell about how it led to what you're doing now, but how you figured out like how to write a book and the fashion editing and styling and all the stuff you were doing. Like, did you know you wanted to do that growing up? Yeah.
I was probably like 6 years old buying Bop and all these like old school magazines, pop culture magazines when I was a kid, and always flipping through and looking at all the fashion.
Okay.
I've always been into fashion. My mom said even as a child, she would put something out and I would say no. And I would recreate my looks. And I just always
love that.
Unbeknownst to me, my father was like, I don't really think that's a career. You're thinking lawyer, all those kinds of things. But I always knew I wanted to be a fashion editor. I mean, I literally wanted to be a fashion editor that worked at a national publication. That was like, and I was like, I'm going to do this. So I actually graduated early from college and jumped right in and ended up working with Atusa Rubinstein, who started Cosmo Girl. It was the spinoff, like kind of young entertainment-y fashion spinoff of Cosmopolitan. She was a Cosmopolitan fashion editor and she started the magazine. And I actually went in and worked under the entertainment director. I didn't even go, I just went in whatever way somebody would take me. Right. Literally, they could be like, do you want to be the bike editor? And I'd be like, yes.
Yes.
Although entertainment funny, obviously, my father was in the entertainment industry, so it was not a far-fetched notion away from fashion. Okay. So I went in as as an entertainment assistant. Okay. And my godfather, who happens to be very good friends with Gayle King, was talking about the fact that Oprah was launching a magazine. And I would love to say that I was some crazy Oprah fan. I think she's phenomenal, but I wasn't. I just wanted to be in a fashion department at a magazine.
Yeah.
So they needed to literally pile up and get editors in. So I launched Oprah Magazine with the original team there and went in as an accessories assistant, and left Cosmo Girl. It was just flew right out to have that opportunity.
So let me just say real quick, the Oprah Magazine came out, was it 2000 or 99?
Yeah, no, it was 2000. Okay. It was 2000.
I remember because I grew up a big Oprah fan, but that magazine, I remember reading it. We had a young son at the time, and we just moved back. We were in Chicago forever. We went to Arizona for 1 year. When we got back from there, that magazine came out, and I remember.
Right, because you're Chicago, right?
Yes.
Right.
And I remember opening it and thinking, I said to my husband, I'm like, every single page of this magazine, and this is going back a long time, obviously. I think it's kind of changed a little bit, but
every single page of this magazine, even the ads, I want to read.
Oh yeah, no, it
Right?
was, yeah. I mean,
Everything is connected. The articles, the ads,
everything,
what you guys were talking about.
And the first question people always ask me is, how involved was she? And I tell everybody, like, more so than you even want a boss to be involved in like the best possible way. I mean, we were a team of a very small team, you know, of a very small art department and photography and fashion. There was very few of us, creative director. And she was there, we were shooting her. I mean, she was there every month for days at a time. I mean, she was the most involved. We were overnighting, because it was like a different time, you know, overnighting copies and pages for her to approve, like fully involved.
And it wasn't even monthly at the time, right? It was only like 10 a year.
No, we did it. No, it was monthly. We launched December. It was monthly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just remember, like,
I am, you know, they say you don't realize how impactful it is when you're in there. Now you work for Oprah, so it is impactful when you're there.
Yes.
But my takeaway, I was 20 years old, 21, and just enamored by the fact that I was launching a magazine. I'm serial entrepreneurial in that way for whatever reason. I love launches and new brands and development, and obviously it's like literally the crux of my career.
Yeah.
But because it was so skeletal in the beginning, and we grew so quickly and it was so successful, I was able to do so much. You know, I did all of her accessories, all her jewelry, handbags, shoes. I did all the accessory fashion pages with my boss, my fashion director, and that kind of thing. And I grew there. I stayed for years, and loved it and learned so much. And then when I was 20, I was very young in this industry. I think I was just married, so maybe 25, 26. And I was asked to be the PR director, to come out of editorial in fashion. So fashion editors work with publicists at the fashion houses. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you have a shoot and you want a Gucci dress, you're calling the publicist at Gucci to borrow it.
Okay.
I swapped and I left being a fashion editor and I went in-house as a PR director at a high-end luxury accessories company. I think like an editor, but they just took a chance on me, which I still tell these guys. I'm like, I was 12 years old with no experience and you made me a PR director. I don't know what you guys were thinking.
They saw something, obviously.
But I literally say that to them. I'm like, I don't know what you guys were thinking. But it was amazing. They let me build my team. And I opened up their stores. I did all their accessories, all the celebrity, all the red carpet. They had a clutch that everybody wore for many, many years. So all the celebrities in movies and TV, I did all the celebrity publicity. I did all the magazine publicity. So I put them all in the national magazines and Vogues and Oprahs of the world. And then I opened up they had a flagship in Bergdorf. And then I opened up their store in Vegas, in Madison, and on Melrose. So I jumped over into that arena, realizing that I execute like an editor. So I could say to them, this bag is going to work for Vogue. This is the trend for the next 6 months, because that's kind of how my brain worked. But on the other side, I realized that I was like really good at business and relationships. And I was friends with all the editors because we grew up together in the industry. So I realized that really publicity, being a publicist was, I think my father used to say I could talk myself out of a paper bag. So I basically think that I sort of can, but I really enjoyed strategizing and the business orientation of the work. So I did that. And then I left there and I went in-house at a firm and worked for a woman called Jackie Lividini, who was the head of fashion direction at Saks Fifth Avenue for like 20 years. So I went in as an PR executive and helped her partner celebrities with brands that we worked with and did a lot more marketing, to be honest. So now I had a very full spectrum of a scope of work. I kind of had a lot of different things under my belt at a very young age. And I had a team there that was wonderful. And then one of the girls that worked with me, we decided to go off on our own and we launched our own PR company. Excuse me. So it was called B Squared Public Relations. My partner's name was Beth as well, which was so weird. But we launched new fashion brands. I literally did what I did kind of for Lambert's and Truex, small luxury accessories company, jewelry. And then I opened up their world to collaborations. I put them in in the biggest national magazines in the world, Elle and Glamour and Oprah and all that kind of stuff, and really help them develop their brand DNA. And in that arena, one of them was interested in meeting with an agent about a jewelry book. And through that, I started talking to the agent with my client and trying to figure it out. And then my business partner literally goes, Beth, wrote a book.
Just write a book, like Beth, write a book.
My business partner just blurts out to the agent, Beth has a book idea or something like that. I was like, what? What are you talking about? P.S. fast forward, I did meet, I met a specific agent that works with a lot of African-American authors who are in media, a lot of celebrities and things like that. And I told her about this concept, about how I felt about life and how I thought there was a void for something like this, that I don't really love the people that feel like they're so real and so honest, but they're coming from a place of like really kind of no and negativity, whereas mine comes from like a space of humor.
Yeah.
I didn't love that when people say I'm so real, I just say what people think. I don't love that whole notion, because
that's just an excuse to say I'm mean and I don't really take any accountability.
That's exactly right. I don't like it. And I said, I think there's a way to do this that feels a lot more authentic. And she said, just write me a few words. I handed it over to my agent. So she goes, I want to rep you because I just think that you're really awesome. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't know if I can write a book, but okay, like we'll see. Yeah. I put a little thing together. I actually I hired a writer, I hired a real writer to make sure that what I was writing kind of flowed correctly and whatever, because I was not writing 17 novels before this. Right. And I wanted to do it right. And so we handed it to my agent. She loved it. She kind of reworked it a little bit. And then she just went out and I started to get offers from publishing companies. And I was like, wait a minute, now I have to write the book.
Yeah. You're like, I told you I don't have the book yet.
I just kept saying, if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, because I love what I do. I love PR and I love what I do. And I love helping other people. I really like behind the scenes. Clearly, I'm not great. Now I'm much better. Yeah. But I was much behind the scenes, not great as animated as I am being the forefront. There was just a lot. So she said, no, you have deals. So we're going to do this. And I was like,
you have to.
Yeah. So
that sounds intimidating. Like I wrote my book before.
I didn't even write the book. That's the word. Like I wish.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That sounds way harder.
Yeah. She sold the concept and it was really well received. And I thought, now I really have to show up.
How long did it take you?
It took me 9 months. Okay. I had all the fodder and thoughts on different papers and journals, and my mind goes like 3,000 miles a minute, which I'm sure you can feel. And I think I just kind of sat down with the writer, and it was a very easy, like I would write the chapter, I would send it to my writer, we would have a call, we'd go over a few tweaks, I would write the chapter. I mean, I really wrote the book. Yeah. And she just helped organization and thoughts and streamlining and familiarity with what publishers want and don't want. I was adamant about the length being well below 200 pages. I wanted an easy read. I wanted people to put a marker in it and come back into it in 2 weeks and not have to remember what they were listening to back here, fast forward, go back. I wanted it to be really easy read. I did the design of the book. I did, I as a publicist, they allowed me a lot of room for that, which was important. The orientation, the colors, the title, I came up with the title, things like that. Yeah. So that's basically, I don't know how I became like 1% of the population that gets like formally published and does a book tour. And so it was unbelievably humbling. And I feel very grateful for people thinking that my crazy thoughts are like interesting enough to
put it down,
like read, which is, I think the love of my Instagram is that I say that, I say when I'm talking about something crazy on Instagram, or I put some crazy, sex quote or something stupid, everybody knows. I'm like, you guys realize I'm doing this to like make you laugh and make sure, if you have a bad day, come over here for a second. Like there's some truth to what I put on there, but like, I'm not, I work, I'm not in the bedroom with somebody 5 days.
Yeah, you're just being silly. The light, it's fine.
Yeah, the light.
So you've had a really cool, it's cool to hear how I was writing down all of the different roles you've had.
Yeah,
It's cool that you just kept going after the things you really love, and people were noticing that and then promoting you and then doing the next thing. And
yeah,
it's obviously not an accident that you ended up where you were. You're saying, I don't know how that happened, but it happened because you were doing what you loved and you're following your passion, and people can tell when it's fake and when it's real, and you get rewarded for doing good work and for being a good team member and leader, et cetera. And so it's not an accident when people say, like, I don't hate the term blessed, but I feel like people are just saying, like, it was a lucky stab at something. Like, so yeah, sometimes you get lucky with things, but typically in a career, you don't just wind up somewhere accidentally. It's because you took the right path, or
right. I do believe that your passion is your purpose. I do. Yeah. I think that when one of your questions is kind of like, how do you find your passion and develop that kind of thing? I just think that figure out what you're passionate about and like go with that, because usually what you're passionate about, you're really good at. That's kind of how I really believe that. I do believe that.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
When you get asked for career advice, what do you tell people when they say, oh, I want to do what you do, or I want to love what I do like you do? What do you tell people? Like, you say, find your passion? Is there anything else? Like,
yeah, I always say, find your passion. I say, there is no easy road, that you cannot find your passion. I don't believe in like, in capping levels of success, if that makes sense. So like, I really always try to have a next goal. Yeah. And it could be large or small for that matter.
What's the benefit of that, you think, having one next goal?
Because then I have something to kind of, it's something to obtain it brings me to the next level of myself. I set a goal, then I say to myself, and obtainable goals. I mean, I don't care what it is. You could want to run a mile or write a book. I think that what it is irrelevant, or how large. It doesn't have to be large, but I think that most of my success comes from lack of complacency. I just am never really settled. I always feel like there's always more I could do. And I try to always come back to how that might be helpful for other people, as opposed to just, one of the things I didn't do in my fashion career was just put pretty things on pretty people. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing that. If that is your passion, you do that. But I felt like I needed to offer more than just more than that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think it's important to set goals. And
I love it. You're right. And I think too, came to mind when you said like setting a goal, even like running a mile, or like, I'm going to get up and walk for 10 minutes or meditate for 5 minutes, 1 minute, say, really doing 1 minute. You're right. If you set a goal, it doesn't matter how small it is, and you achieve it, then you start to, you little by little, you build self-confidence, you feel a little bit better, you stand a little taller, like little by little, you're like, oh, I'm doing that. I'm committing to something I said I was going to do. It's better for me. Usually the goal you have is going to make you better in some way, physically, mentally, whatever. And you're showing yourself you can do it. And then it's building blocks, and you just build. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I have this thing. Again, it's not an accident you have that, because you committed to doing something, little or not, and you achieved it. And now you can do more. It's like this, it's like a little secret, but it's not that little.
Yeah. And I think that, I think that that there should be professional goals and personal goals. I think that they're very interchangeable now, especially like after COVID and people are working at home and all that kind of stuff. So I think everybody needs a little reprieve from like daily life, whether or not that's like, for me, I am like incredibly active. I am the person that like must work out for an hour every day. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I do it every day. That for me is my time. It is my therapy. It is a must. But I set even small goals. And I was an athlete growing up, even there, even saying to myself, okay, this feels too easy now. So what more can I do? Okay. You know what? I think I need to go and I need to get a trainer and work on weights, whatever. Right. And then that's personal, and that was a very important thing for me to continue in my life. And then in work, my agent loves to hate me because I'll be like, what do I do next? What are we doing? What are we doing? Right. It's just, I'm like, I have this idea. And I try to flush through it. And she's like, no, that's really bad. I'm like, that's a really bad idea. I'll be back. I'm coming back. And I'll be, and then I'm not kidding. I'm working on a project now. And I said to her, to get to that, I can't even tell you, like for your listeners, like to get to that goal, I had 40 stupid goals. No, like I'm not even kidding.
Video.
I would like sit with copious amounts of wine and be like, this is really smart. And then I'm like, this is really dumb in the morning. I'm like, no. And I would send it to her and she's like, where are we marketing that? I'm like, I have no idea, in my head last night.
Yeah.
Right. But that created that is where I am here with an idea that is like awesome, that won't even let me talk about, so I just think setting goals, and personal and professional, may they be small or large, because I think is important, and it has to stem from your passion. I really believe that. I do. I think what you're most passionate about is, there's a quote about it. It's something like what you're passionate about is not by accident, or something like that. And I believe that. I do.
I do too.
I think I go back now. I'm still very involved in the schools that I went to as a child. My children actually go there. And they'll always say, because I've spoken there and I mentor there, and they said to me, you always wrote beautifully, like you would, with interest and a voice and enthusiasm and sarcasm and so now that I go back and I look at it, my father was the senior vice president of HBO. So he would just sit me in the office while he was doing 1,000 things, while I would watch like Fraggle Rock or some crazy 80s, 90s show. And I would write about my entire day. I was like 5 or 6, and I would just write about my entire day at HBO. And then I'd be like, here, Dad, here's
look what I wrote. Isn't it awesome?
Yeah. So, I think that I've always had a lot to say.
Yeah, it was in your blood. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything you wish you learned earlier in your life?
How much time? No, okay. There's so many things. I think my biggest thing is the not requiring validation from people is a big thing for me in business, because I did excel in my career young and early, and I was constantly looking for validation, whether or not it was verbal validation or raises or bumps up, whatever it was. All of these things, by the way, you receive anyway. I did. But I was always worried. I was always looking for validation. I think that is like a really big thing in my life, which I look for none of it now. Unless it's self-inflicted from other people. I also think stopping and taking a minute and not responding to emails or thoughts or conversations. Not every argument you're invited to, you need to take a part in, like that whole thing in business and personal life, but like really in career, like take a minute and just let it kind of like sink in and assess, because so much about being successful in business is your rapport with other people. And I literally put my whole entire career on my reputation, and I stand by that, because I have a really flawless one, but I worked at that, I worked at that really hard.
Not an accident. Yeah,
like those are probably the two things: not needing the validation and taking a minute, and not like, I would just, the react situation, I just think that, you just have to kind of take a minute, and it also, I think when you're trying to develop things in business, these kinds of things don't work. You got to sit in a room with 10 people, hear their thoughts, your thoughts, and like mull it over and come back to it and all that kind of stuff. So I think those are two really important things that people don't talk about as much in business.
I love that. I totally agree. And I was giving this workshop last week about meditation and what you do body and mind, but the space thing about the not reacting and not, I was never really a reactive person like that anyway. So I just spent a weekend with my girlfriends, and it's like, the space that you have in between a comment or a thing, whether it's a thing you want to react to in a good way or not, you get more of that when you're meditating, because your brain is like, you're not on
processing,
not on high alert.
And you're not fight or flight,
Yes, you're not doing the fight or flight, because you're helping the sympathetic nervous system, not the other one. And I was trying to explain to the people, my audience, that it's hard to measure, but it is there, and it gets better the more you meditate. And I've been doing meditation for 5 years now.
I agree.
Really, it's like Like, how do you explain it? Well, you don't have the urge to say something right away. You just, you know that thing you want to say is like, I want a minute to process it. And
Yes.
it's calmer space and
Yeah.
it feels better. And like you said, it's more valuable when you do respond. And then you don't have that, like, you can be in a room with 10 people. It's great. I love brainstorming and getting ideas and putting it down. But yeah, let's regroup in a half an hour.
You have to backpedal and say something that you don't mean. I mean, because, people will read my book or look at my Instagram or have a conversation with me and think I'd be like, I actually am not. I'm actually, and I said that was my ex-husband.
Reflective.
Yeah. Like if you were in a room with the two of us, you'll see him and you're kind of like, he's so laid back and he's so cool and he's all these kinds of things. And I'm like, blah, 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 but like, really, he's not. He's reactive and he's also not calm all the time. When we're trying to get ready for a trip, he'd be freaking out and I'd be like, it's all good. We'll figure it out. So it's interesting because you really can have, as a personality, the balance of both. And I'm glad that I do, because I think when you're younger, anybody with any type of personality is more reactive just by nature. It's like, by nature, as a child, you're just more reactive, normal. Whereas an adult, you'd like to think you've evolved a little bit.
Yeah, you're more mature. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think that you still have to check yourself. And I think that is, especially in business, because once it is out there, it is like legitimately out there forever.
Yeah.
Ever and ever.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
My girls. I'm like, when you put that out there, that's going to be there forever.
Exactly. Big lesson. Okay, so I have one final question for you. What, well, two, you can answer them in the order you want. So what's the greatest gift that you, Beth, offer the world every day? You have to brag a little bit. And what's one new thing you're taking away from our conversation today? Any new thought or idea?
I think what I have to offer, authenticity, clearly. I really try to live my life. I'm certainly not perfect, but I'm intrinsically a good person. So compassion is a really big deal to me, and kindness and acceptance and no judgment, which is kind of like, you've read the book, so you kind of can get that from me. It is really important for me to just be like a good human to other humans. Like it really is. And I also am very diligent about standing up for injustices. I think that's when, if somebody were to describe me, they would be like, oh, she's so sweet and she's this. But if there's an injustice, I really will pretty much fight that to the death. So I think that's kind of what I have to offer. I mean, I hope my story and stories that I'll be writing, going forward. I grew up with divorced parents, one with a lot of money and one not with a lot of money. And I'm biracial, and my father died when I was a child. And I've been through a lot of stuff. And my hope is that sharing that, which I do with full disclosure, and not all of it, a lot of it is not pretty. And I just got divorced myself. So there adds another layer, that I offer some sort of authenticity for people to understand that, like, we've all been through it. Like, everybody's been through something. There's and then to offer a little bit of or a lot of humor and sarcasm in between. That's I just would like to, God forbid I passed away tomorrow, that people would just be like, she was like a good person.
Yeah.
That's my biggest, and not in business, in life.
Yes, I love it. And you're the same either way. You're not like a different one or the other. Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
Great compliment.
And then to take away from this conversation, honestly, I'm not really good about kind of like self-promotion, and I'm so used to doing that for other people. It's a little bit of a difficult thing for somebody like me as a publicist, but also to be on the other side of the receiving end of doing things like this. And I think that I've said no a lot, like in the last, maybe 24 months. I said yes to you. I mean, but I do a lot of research. Like, I kind of look and see, like, if it's the right genre, does it hold the same voice? There's a earth and groundness and kindness to your scenario. So that works for me. And I think what I need to do is I need to say yes to more of these things and not feel like I'm self-promoting myself, but this is like par for the course. So I think that one of the things that my takeaway is that I enjoy these and I should do these and I should do more of them. And my agent would agree. But yeah, I think that would be my takeaway, that there are really good platforms out there. And I should be doing more of that. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, I agree. And you're not, and I ask because I only ask people that I resonate with and that I think that they have a, like good energy and good,
Yeah, all that energy.
Yeah, something to share. And most people say yes, because who wouldn't want to, like, if you really are excited about and love what you do, you sharing that story is just helping, who knows, just one young girl or some mother or father listening to it and saying, hey, you were saying you couldn't do this. I just read the story or heard about this woman who did this, and she was only whatever years old, That's the way I do it. So when someone says to me, I'm taking this new role soon as a career development coach, and when someone says to me, I don't know if I can do that, I'm going to say, you know what? I have 150 examples of how you can do it. Whether you're a girl, a boy, whether you're 18 or 80, there are millions of examples, but not everyone can get them. But now with podcasts, and obviously books have been around forever, but there's lots of examples, and I just want living proof and a library of, yes, there are many. And here's proof. And why not share the lessons? I'm a big giving back person. Sounds like you are too. Like, why not share the lessons? Everyone thinks, well, I don't really have anything to offer. First of all, everyone does, but especially people like us that have lived enough life just to say, here's what I would change. Here's what I need here. Here's what's going to work or not work, or just give you advice and wisdom. There's not enough of there of it.
No, there really isn't. No, there isn't. There isn't.
Yeah.
And I feel like I try to, on my Instagram, I get like a lot of messages. I really try. I sit like once a week and go through them, the ones that are appropriate. There are some that are not appropriate.
Of course.
The appropriate ones. I really try to respond, because I had one woman just say to me, oh, I love your quotes. I love this quote. I love watching I love your Instagram. My mom was homeless. Like I said, I put up something yesterday, like, just don't ever feel like it can't happen to you in life. That's like the biggest lesson, right? I put that up. And she's like, I just love, you're so honest. She goes, my mom was homeless. Like, who would have ever thought, things like that. Like that feels good. That she feels good about just putting up quotes like that one random person in the middle of nowhere. I mean, that means something to somebody like me. Right. It really does. So I continue, again, partially it's like fun. And now that I'm single, like it's really funny to like be on there. But
if you're doing something with your, like you said, your sense of humor and your writing, and you're giving back in a way that says, like, I hope this is helpful a little bit or funny or make you laugh. Because even if it just makes you laugh, it is still helpful. That's all it does.
And also just be a good, my biggest thing of the DNA from the book and this and all that is just like, don't be a shitty person. Like there's just don't be a shitty person. Just be good to people. You never know what someone's going through. Just don't be a shitty person. That's literally what I wish I could say to everybody. Actually, I probably do say that to everybody. I definitely say it to my children.
Maybe you just found the title for your next book.
I know. Well, the problem with, trust me, because I have such a potty mouth, and I went through this with my publishing company, my agent. The problem is a title with a curse is really a hard sell. I already went through this because, of course,
I see it, and it's like it's. If I was in the airport and I saw that, and even have a little star,
I know, I love it, but
look at it.
I agree with you. We have this conversation, but it deters Walmart and like there's like all this, like all the way places, my books sell everywhere, right? So it's like there's certain retailers that won't do it, and they're like, I mean, believe me, I had
there's others that will. Well,
many profanity thoughts.
Yeah, it's funny. Oh, well, I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm so glad I reached out, and thank you for saying yes. I always just figure, like, what's the worst that can happen? Someone just says no to me, or someone just doesn't reply. And some people do, and some people don't. And I feel like the ones that say yes are the ones that are meant to say yes and meant to, meet. So I really appreciate it, and keep writing. And I'm probably excited to follow you on Instagram and see what you do next.
Yes, things to come for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. It's been a real pleasure. And so people want to, so you have what's your Instagram handle? I'll put it in there.
Oh, it's really novel. It's my name. It's just at Beth Thomas Cohen.
Okay, cool. And the book is Drop the Act. It's exhausting. I love it. Especially for women, I think it's a great, simple read. And it's just like, it's refreshing. And it's just like, let's not take ourselves so seriously.
Literally.
Yeah.
Life is tough. So
yeah.
like, And hi, did anybody else feel that way? Because I did. It's all
Yes.
of that, you know.
Yes, we need more real instead of just like, look how great my life is. That's why I kind of shy away from that. I post.
Oh yeah,
once a
that I
week,
definitely don't do.
I'm like, that's not real because not everyone has, that's not 100% of your life.
No.
That's just what you want people to see.
The
And that
good
doesn't
and
help
all the
anyone.
good and all the bad.
Yeah, that doesn't help anyone feel better anyway. So thank you for what you do. And it's been a pleasure.
You too. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Take care. See you next time.
Thanks for listening. I hope you loved this episode. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, review, and share it. I hope you were truly inspired. And for a little more inspiration, don't forget to pick up my book, Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective: 8 Secrets to Serenity and Satisfaction in Your Life and Career. I can't wait to get you love in your life.